Hi, my name is Samantha, and in today's Remnants to Radiance video, we're talking all about hair bows. Let me show you how to make these quick and easy hair bows. Before we start talking about our materials, let's look at the final product. Here's one example, and here's another. Here's an example of one where I didn't notice that I stacked the points wrong. And it's also an example of having a different center. So this isn't necessarily wrong, it's just more dramatic, I would say. Just something to keep in mind. Let's talk about our materials. To make the bow, what we'll need is a piece of fabric that is 20.5 inches long by 5.5 inches tall. Then we'll need another piece that is 4 inches long by 2 inches tall. Then you'll need a clip or a piece of elastic. These clips are called French clips, and I think they make a really nice end product. So what we'll want to do with our centerpiece is go to the iron it in half, and then fold the centers. Fold the sides towards the center and iron it again. Then you'll end up this little loop. Set that aside. With the long piece, we're going to want to fold upwards and iron. Then take the corners, fold them in so it touches, iron again. Fold it in so it touches, and iron again. Now we can start marking our sew line. When marking our sew line, we'll need to leave an opening to turn it right side out. You could leave it in the middle if you'd like. However, I suggest putting it between the 1 and 3 mark. So right here's my point. I'm going to go 1 inch, 3 inch. You'll see why at the end. Then, if you don't want to mark up your bow, you don't have to. You can use this guide to sew and then just go 1/4 inch away. So I'm going to write my line. I'm using a friction pen. Goes away with heat. And then I'm going to use this side. The most important part in making this bow is that the points are sewn really nice. That's what gives you a good end product. Right. Like I said, you don't have to mark it up if you don't want to. Just makes it a little easier when you're going to sew. There's a clear line. So when we go to the sewing machine, we're going to start on this end, back stitch, come up, pivot, stop right here. This is 1 inch from the point. Leave an opening of 2 inches. This is 3 inches from the point. Start again, do a back stitch, sew, pivot, and go down here. So let's go ahead and do that. Stop, start. Let's go to the sewing machine. I'm on a straight stitch with my needle centered, and I'm using a coordinating thread. You don't have to use a coordinating thread if you don't want to. I just already had it loaded in my machine from another project. I'm going to do a back stitch. Stop and pivot. Pull out the needle. Back stitch. I'm going to go to this needle, pull out the pin, back stitch, and and sew along the line. Pivot. There we go. Off camera, I have turned on my hot glue gun, and now I'm going to trim my threads, or trim the excess. Don't throw this piece away. This is a great leader piece. I'll show you how to use that in a minute. Make sure you're not cutting your sew line that you just did. All right, now we're gonna stick your finger in there, open it up. Remember that fancy turning stick I told you about yesterday, a la chop a stick? Get one of those. Give yourself a little pocket to be able to push. It'll take a minute, but you'll get it. Turn it to the outside. Now we're going to poke out the corners. Poke them out real good. If you want, you can even take a needle, go into the point and try and pull it up. Something else I like to do is this seam right here, I like to push against it. So I'm holding the bottom and I'm pushing against the seam. This is like finger pressing without using your finger. Poke the other corner out. Okay. Let's go over to our iron. Our goal here is to flatten this as much as possible. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring this center seam into the center, and I'm going to push. And you might say, oh no, I have a seam right there now, or a fold. But it is worth it to get this nice and tight. I'm going to push out the corner. It's going away. Don't stress it. So what I'm going to do now, see the holes right here? You could fill this with hot glue and shut it, or you can stitch it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the opening is so that I don't use any more stitches than I need. That's how much I need to stitch. Let's go back to the sewing machine. If you did not have a coordinating thread, now is the time to add it into your machine. Remember this scrap piece from before? Now it's our leader piece. It took the crappy stitch at the beginning, and now we're going to have a nice stitch. My needle is adjusted all the way right, and I'm going to line my presser foot up with the edge of my fabric, so I have a nice tight seal. Stitch, back stitch, we only need to go as far as that needle was. Just give this a little pull. Look how nice that thread is. Trim these. You can go ahead and press it one more time. This next part is the tricky part. We're making the bow. In order to do this, we need to make this funky shape here. I have this all pinned down so I can use it as my template. So what we're going to do, so see if I fold it in this manner, the points are in the wrong direction. Flip it over. Now they're in the right direction. So have your points facing upward, fold over, cross. What we're looking for, these should be even, these should be even. And if you measure it across, it should be 5.5. See how the feet are even? And it's 5.5 across. So go ahead and mess with it for a little bit. Since I have this template here, I'm just going to lay my other fabric on top. And would you look at that? The seam is perfectly covered by the thread. Now this is the tricky part. We're going to do a pinch and then accordion fold. You want to have some thread nearby to tie it up when we're done. I have this little baggie of when my bobbins run out of thread and there's just a little bit left, or maybe I messed something up and needed a seam rip, but I just have these little pieces of thread and now they're going to be put to use. So I'll have that ready. We're going to pinch in the center. I try and do 3 folds on each side. 1, 2, 3. I definitely don't get it on the first try. It's going to take a couple times, but it doesn't matter. Just take your time until you get it. So if you like that bow, tie it up. You don't like it, redo it. So I'm going to try I'm going to pinch a little higher this time. Just takes a couple times folding it. Okay, it took me a couple times, but now I have a bow that I like. I'm going to take my string, wrap it around, tie it. I've seen where people use elastic on this part. Doesn't matter, just something to tie it. Okay, cut the threads. So now when you look at it at the front, Is that the bow you want? Is that how you want it to look? Oh, I just broke my thread. I'm gonna have to redo it. Okay, I went ahead and redid it. So now we're gonna go ahead and wrap this around. But first, we need to put some hot glue on this. Now, I am not a fan of hot glue in any sense of the word, so this part is a struggle for me. But what we're gonna do is put some glue along this line. Try and make sure that you didn't use too much so it doesn't come out the end like I just did. All right. If this was a directional print, or if I was using the same fabric as this, I would see, is the front better than the back? Doesn't need to go this way, this way. For this piece of fabric, it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is put it in the center. And wrap. That's what our bow is going to look like. So now what we need to do, we need to put a dab of glue in the center right here. If anyone has figured out a way to make these without hot glue, please let me know. I do not like hot glue at all. All right. Then we're going to put a little more top here. We don't want to do the whole thing at one time because we want it to look nice. You made all this effort. Don't let it get screwed up by the hot glue. Just because hot glue is messy, it makes things look childish. Yours doesn't have to be. All right. I'm being very careful not to use a lot of hot glue. I don't want it seeping out the sides. And I'm just holding my bow, every element. Okay. So now you know we have excess. This piece is just going to fold down, and this piece is going to fold up and over. You could just stick your clip on top of here, like this, or if you were using elastic, you could thread it through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, slide this through, and then I'm going to put hot glue on the back here. Then I'm going to glue it up. That means that this will be completely secure into this strap, and it will lay nice and flat. Something to keep in mind when you put the clip on. Which way to put the clip on? Let me show you what I mean. So I am right-handed, so I'm going to open mine to the left. This one opens to the left, this one opens to the left. If you are left-handed or have a left part, put yours opening to the right. If you are right-handed or have a right part, put yours opening to the left. Obviously, you could still use it in your hair if it's facing the wrong way. It just makes putting it on yourself much more difficult. Let's talk about the difference between hot gluing the opening shut or sewing it. In this example here, I hot glued it shut. You can't tell where the opening is, and it looks really flawless. In this bow, I sewed the center opening shut. It's not super noticeable, but you can tell. In this example, I moved the stitches over to the side, but obviously not enough because they're not hidden. Some of them are hidden, but not all of them. This is the one I made with you today. You cannot see any of the seams from the front, but you can see them from the back. They are right there. That is why I suggest placing your opening 1 inch over to 3 inches. These bows will be available left and right-handed in my Etsy shop. So now I'm going to put a dab of glue here and stick it down. Okay. So mine is going to open to the left. I need it to fold over the clip and then sit in the middle. So let's see how much fabric we need. It needs to sit right there. I'm not really going to trim any off. I think I'm good. What I am going to do is I'm going to put a little dab of glue here, and then I'm going to stick this down before I stick it up. So it needs to go right there. I'm going to put this little clip here so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to get up in this hole right here. Okay. Now I'm going to attach it onto the clip. Oh, I did a little too much there. Okay. Little dab right there. I need to go add another stick. I put too much glue, so I'm just trying to hold it. Use this pencil. Try and swipe it up. I really don't like when the glue shows. I think it's very unprofessional. All right. How cute. Okay, so we could stop here, but I don't want this clip to get ripped off, so I'm going to make sure it's super secure. I'm going to go on the clip, not on the bow, put a dab of glue, and then I'm going to hold it onto the fabric. This just gives it another reinforcement point. So for these projects, we're using scrap pieces. We're not using big pieces, we're using remnants. That's why I have a different piece in the center here. I don't have any more of this fabric. I made some bows and I made some scrunchies. Now there's none left. That's okay. The center of your bow does not have to be the same. Okay, there we go. What do you think? Let me know if you want to make this in the comments down below. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and found it useful. If you would like to purchase these hair bows, they'll be available in my Etsy shop and the link is below. Have a great day. Goodbye.